Good morning, all. Nearly good afternoon. Just waiting on a few more people to join the webinar this morning, so you're all very welcome. I will do another welcome once we have a few more join. So just give it another couple of minutes here. Just for anybody who's just joined, just going to give it another minute or two. Let a couple of stragglers join, and we'll kick off. We're very welcome to have everybody this morning. Just another 2 minutes and we'll kick off. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody who's joined us on the line today, this afternoon. There's a lot of familiar names to LBS partners joining us on the registration over the last week, but also on the line this morning. And I can still see there's a lot of familiar names coming through on the line joining us right now. You're all very welcome here this afternoon for this webinar. This is a new venture for LBS partners, but something that we felt was very good timing for us and for a lot of the clients that we're working with, based on what we're seeing on the ground at the moment. Just before I kick off this morning, small bit of just housekeeping. I will introduce the team in a moment that are going to be presenting to you this morning or this afternoon. But I would just ask if there are any questions as the webinar progresses. I would please ask people to use the Q&A button at the top of the webinar just to capture any of the questions there. There will be 10 minutes assigned to questions at the end. Hopefully we will have the 10 minutes to give. We are recording the session today, both for our own internal use, but also for follow-up with anybody who might be interested in speaking with us some more, or would like those the slide deck and the presentation shared, so that we can do that also. I'm going to leave the cameras and the mics on mute and the cameras off until the end of the session. We can turn those on at the end for questions if people want to ask them live, and again, please use the Q&A functionality. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to kick off here. So when we asked ourselves the question a number of weeks ago, what is happening on the ground? What are people hearing, or what are the issues that people are encountering? There was a huge amount of commonality across all of the client base that we're dealing with, from LBS partners and on the digital side of the house specifically, as to the issues that we're encountering. A lot of these were not what you might think. They were not industry specific. They were not software specific. These were pain points that people are feeling on a day-to-day basis. Doesn't matter the industry or the sector. We have people having issues with data management, finding the data when they go to look for it, having multiple sources of data. We have silos in our organizations where the communication is not really where we would like it to be, or there's breakdowns across the piece. There's a lack of integration amongst our systems in our organizations that aren't speaking to one another. Workflow management was a big one for us that comes up a lot with clients, where one, we may not have the visibility of the work, or we don't know whether we're ahead or behind and don't know how to prioritize that work when it comes through. So that's been a big pain point for our clients, and is a big focus area for us in the solutions that we have provided to our customers. And we get into things like paper-based processes, reporting issues, and getting the information that you really want from your systems. So again, these weren't sector specific or system specific issues that we were coming across, but they were repeatable offenders around data management, again, paper-based processes, workflow, visibility of the work that's going on. So a lot of the solutions and the introduction to the applications that might work for you and your businesses to help with these issues. Very simple applications that we're going to take you through today and introduce you to, but they're meeting and should meet some of these issues and pain points that we're coming across. So just to introduce you to the team itself. So LBS Partners, who most people on the line on the call and who've registered with us will have some exposure to over the 21 years that we've been in business now. LBS Partners has its basis in operational excellence and lean specifically. So we offer consulting services and training, whether at yellow belt, green belt level, and soon to black belt level also. So there'll be a lot of people on the line who will have had exposure to the business on that side. But as the business has developed, more and more of the work that we were doing as an organization was having digital elements to it, whether working with ERPs, CRMs, or other software systems that people had, but more so now around these issues that are just introduced and pain points and the options that people have to use software and digital means to actually provide solutions and provide answers to some of these issues, along with the integration of the software systems that people have themselves. So while we have our basis in lean, and we like to try and say that we want people to go digital with us, but to stay lean and keep those streamlined processes at the core of your being and your operations. So with that, I would like to introduce both Lisa Finn and Patrick Staff, two other members of the digital team here at LBS Partners who work very closely with me and who a lot of people on the line will know and will have worked with. And they're going to take you through presentations as to some of these applications as part of the Microsoft suite, which we all know so well, that can really help with some of these issues that we encounter on a day-to-day. So with that, I'll hand over to Lisa.
Thank you, Mark, for the introductions. So yes, I'll be bringing you through the next few slides and just introducing you to some of the Microsoft products that are now on offer for you guys to use. As we saw with COVID, there was a fast track requirement for digitalization, and a number of businesses have now made that transition from using Office 365 to moving to Microsoft 365 Small Business. And what exactly does that mean? What's the main differences as a result of moving to this platform? Well, firstly, it's subscription based. So it's a cloud service offering. It's referred to as SaaS as well, software as a service. For some people that maybe are hearing these terms around the place now. It is still as productive as Office 365, so you still have access to the suite of those desktop apps that you guys are already familiar with, such as Excel and PowerPoint and things like that. However, it is a cloud-based service, so that way you now get access to a number of premium web-based apps as well. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. The fact that it is cloud-based also means that you can connect with it through an internet browser. So as long as you've got a connection, you can obviously access your files easily and seamlessly through that browser. Collaboration is the main feature of Microsoft 365. So because we've got everything up in the cloud now, it makes it really easy to share documents, collaborate on items in what we refer to as real time. And I'm sure for some of the organizations on the call, you're already very familiar with Teams. So you're seeing some of the benefits of this already. You also have access to OneDrive. So OneDrive is cloud storage. So every user that has a Microsoft license now has access to storage, personal storage in the cloud as well. And that is what is referred to as OneDrive. And from there, you can store your data or you can also share it with people as well. And the final thing just to mention on the Microsoft 365 is the updates. So now, because it is web-based, it is up in the cloud, that security features, new bug fixes, or any new additions can really be migrated out to the license fast, as opposed to the traditional desktop versions. So that's another great feature of Microsoft 365. And now we'll go into a bit more detail on looking at some of these web applications that you can avail of as part of that. So, what is beyond the waffle? I know it's nearly lunchtime, and some people are probably going, why are you talking about food? But I'm not talking about food. I am talking about the waffle, and by the waffle, I mean that icon that you can see are the 9 dots at the bottom of the screen. Wherever you see that icon, that means that there's apps at the back of it. So, as mentioned already, we are familiar with some of the core products that are tried and tested. Outlook, for example, I'm sure the majority of you are using for your emails and things like that. Excel, we know how functional it is on the spreadsheet side of things, and PowerPoint. But now when you actually go into Microsoft 365 online and log in, you will notice that there is that waffle icon in the top left-hand corner. And when you click on that icon, you will then see a suite of products available to you. And some of these products we'll be discussing today. So the first three that we're going to talk about is introducing you to the Power Platform. The Power Platform is the name that Microsoft have given to a suite of these web-based apps that they refer to as low code or no code. So I guess you probably, for some people, are going, what do we mean by low code or no code solutions? Traditionally, programming, as we know, used to be very theory based, a lot of coding and things like that. These new low code platforms mean that we actually can use features like drag and drop and limited coding. And it really brings some great benefits because one, you don't need to be as technically advanced as you used to code. And secondly, it means that you can implement solutions really fast. So we can make changes and adapt quite quickly in low code solutions if there's a change in the business or we want to see a different color on a screen. And again, as I mentioned, we can actually turn around solutions much faster and implement those solutions much faster. So the main thing around the Power Platform is there is a number of products in it. The three we're going to discuss today is SharePoint, Power Apps, and Power Automate. And each one of these products can absolutely drive process efficiency for you separately. However, the combination of the three of them together is extremely powerful. And this is where we are really seeing improvements in processes and organizations driving operational excellence by combining these three products together. And that's what we're going to go through in a bit more detail and talk about some use cases of how we've had some successes around that. So let's kickstart off with SharePoint. Some of you on the call may be using SharePoint already. In some cases, I go into organizations and they're using SharePoint and they don't realize it is SharePoint that they're using because of the way in which they access it. So SharePoint is collaboration platform. Again, it's web-based browser. A lot of people use it to create intranets, and by intranets, I mean internal intranets or comms platforms. And it's actually a great platform as well if you need to externally collaborate as well. We've put some great solutions in around on that side of things also. So the main function of SharePoint, as you can see by its name, is all about sharing information, sharing documents, and really creating that collaboration between teams. Document management, it has a fantastic folder structure that you can use different fields, also referred to as metadata, to help you organize your documents, organize your folders, and it has a really strong search capability as well. We go into a lot of organizations and it's, I don't know where that folder's saved, or I don't know how to find this document. So it was really good for helping on the archiving and the searching and that side of things. It has workflow integration, so we will be touching off Power Automate shortly, and this is where we are really seeing these products work together well. So for example, if somebody updates a document somewhere in SharePoint and we need to trigger an action somewhere else in the business, we can build in these workflow integrations to it to stop the heavy reliance on emails and things like that. It's extremely customizable. So in terms of logos, layouts, colors, all that side of things. And that's really good for setting the branding internally within the organization. You know, if, for example, there's a certain set of values, you can display them, you can use your logos, and it just really helps keep that core branding of an organization through the software that they're using. There is also lots in terms of security and permissions. So we won't be going into too much detail today on the security and permissions, but you can create different user groups. You can create security groups. You can create different roles. All of that in the background to help you manage SharePoint. And Microsoft's theory on this is that to build as many SharePoint sites as you require and manage the permissions that way, that the world is flat. And it's all about governance and compliance around those SharePoint sites. And that is really useful when you are looking at implementing the security and permissions. You can lock down different sites on that one. So as you can see, SharePoint in itself is very useful. The next one is Power Apps. So Power Apps is really where we're seeing this low code application development to start working. It's all that drag and drop features. You can enhance the functionality of your Power Apps by adding code into it as well. And it also connects to a number of data sources. So it can connect to Microsoft Lists, Excel. It does have a number of premium connectors. So if you are using another system and you may want to connect to that system as well, it can connect to a number of data sources. And Microsoft also have Dataverse, which is their own database available for storage as well. You can create what's referred to as Canvas apps. So the Canvas apps are mobile friendly. And just to mention, actually, which I didn't cover at the start, you know, because these are web-based apps, there is some really good mobile versions of the apps available. So your SharePoint site you can access on your mobile, your tablet, or your desktop browser, and you're still getting access to a lot of features. So the Canvas apps, you know, it really gives you some nice little mobile apps you can create, or you can also create them as larger format ones to be used on a browser also. It has integration, as we know, because we're staying within the Power Platform. So there's that integration in place on the Power Apps. So if, for example, somebody enters information through an app and we then want to generate a PDF report of that app, then you can also create a Power Automate flow that will do that for you. So again, this is where we're seeing the combination of these three products together, coming together and really driving that operational excellence for you. So if we just have a look now at Power Automate. Also, it used to be formerly known as Microsoft Flow. So some of you may have come across it when it was under Microsoft Flow. And it's all about workflow automation. So where you're sending emails to inform people of something, or stop doing it, because we can just basically build in workflow automation to facilitate that. I have updated a status on a document to approved, and I want to make somebody aware of that in the business somewhere else. And instead of normally sending them an email or giving them a call or things like that, we can build in those workflow automations. It integrates with lots of different apps. So as I said, there's all these different things you can build in. You can add a row to an Excel document based on the action of somebody else. You can send an email to somebody based on another action happening somewhere else. Or you could generate a PDF report or sign a document based on an action somewhere else. So it can integrate as well with maybe other systems that you have. To integrate with other systems is Premium Connections, but it does have that capability if you wanted it to. The workflows can be what is referred to as event driven. So that's what I was talking about there. One action triggers another action somewhere else. They can also be scheduled. So say, for example, if you had a customer support log, you had people throughout the week entering different support issues onto that log, and every Monday, the customer service manager wanted to see how many logs had been created that week or how many logs were still open. And what you could do is you could create a scheduled Power Automate flow that would drop an Excel document into their email every Monday morning at 8 o'clock with a list of all the logs for the week previous. And that's what I mean by a schedule driven automation as well as an event driven automation. There is also approval workflows. So there is actually an out-of-the-box solution with Microsoft Teams for approval. And I'm going to be going through a use case of that to give you an example. Very handy in finance and the accounts payable side of things. And then sometimes, just this morning, I've had an example of where the approval workflow out of the box isn't giving them exactly what they want. So we've actually built our own approval workflow, customized with our own fields to overcome the out of the box. So the great thing about these things is there is so much you can do, and every day is a school day with it. So no matter what it is that you want to do, there is a way to do it. It just, takes a little bit of working around and things like that. But as you can see, I absolutely love figuring it all out as to how these things work. And Microsoft are adding stuff all the time, which is fantastic. And just on that last point, business logic, you can apply business logic to things as well. So if, for example, we wanted to put conditions in, do this if this status is updated, or do this otherwise. You can build all those condition logics into Power Automate. And again, it's that drag and drop idea. Some of you may have seen on the media recently that they've launched the Copilot into Power Automate now, which is their AI, where you nearly just tell them what you want it to do. And in some cases, it gives you an idea of what way the logic should be built and things like that. So the three of them together, as you can see, make a really, really good, strong solution once we bring them together. So let's just go through a few use cases. So if we take use case one, so this is an example of where we've used a combination of all three: SharePoint, Power Automate, and Power Apps together. So this was an organization where they were producing job packs on a weekly basis to give to a team of field operatives. They'd come into work on a Monday, they'd collect their job packs for the week, and they would carry out their jobs throughout the week, and they'd return them back to the office the following Monday. Within this job pack, some of it was just static information. So it was things that they had to have, maybe policy documents, how-to guides, depending on the nature of jobs from a compliance point of view. So straight away, that was a paper-based process. And as we know, there's a lot of challenges with paper-based processes. One, paper gets lost. Two, when people are left to type things in, we have spelling mistakes, we have data entry issues, all that sort of stuff. The fact that people were driving around with that for a week, we had no real-time analytics. There was a lot of wasted time in scanning and archiving when those documents came back into the building, and there was no search capability whatsoever, and obviously no workflow management. So if there was an issue on a job and somebody needed to be aware, they were maybe sending a WhatsApp message or sending an email as opposed to the trigger being automatically notified. So how did we overcome that? Well, first of all, we took any information that was what I referred to as static, and that's kind of the compliance documents, the how-to guides, things like that. We built a SharePoint site in which we had a number of quick links in, and those quick links then would open up the different statements, policies, that side of things. And again, remember this is mobile access, so they could access exactly the same things from the mobile version. So if somebody came to site and said, show me the method statement for how you're going to carry out that action, they could go into SharePoint, they could just click up the method statement and they could show them there and then. So that was the first thing we did. We then built a Power App. So for every form where we needed to input data, we created a Power App to allow us to take that data in a nicer format. We used drop-down choices fields to try and reduce some of that manual error. And we also put mandatory data requirements in. Data is key with any of this. As I always say, rubbish in, I'm afraid, rubbish out. So the more that people can select in terms of drop-down options and mandatory fields, the better for when we come to the analytics and the searching capability. And then we added in some Power Automate flows. So if, for example, somebody clicked the button to say that they had an issue with a piece of equipment, the health and safety officer was informed immediately about that. We also created a Power Automate flow to generate a PDF report of the actual form. So even though we were storing the information in the background, we still wanted that PDF report, and we created that PDF output, and then it was saved centrally, automatically on the SharePoint site. So we've got the combination of the three of them solutions together there, and you can see straight away we've removed paper. We've started recording more consistent data information. We've got real-time analytics if we need to. We've got some issue escalation, let alone the time saving from the office point of view of scanning and that side of things. And we do see that a lot. A lot of wasted time can be in some of the support functions in the office. And there's not many KPIs that businesses actually measure around that. So there's a huge ethos of lost time in some of these support tasks that are happening and manual processes in the background. So we'll move on to use case 2. Use case 2 is just quite a smaller one, simpler. We don't use Power Apps in it at all. In this case, what we're using is SharePoint and Power Automate, and it's quite a common one we see, the AP approval process. It can take a lot of time for people to get paid sometimes, or to get approvals through on invoices and things like that. So in this case, we had an organisation where their approval process was reliant on email for some departments, and in some cases, some people were still printing the copies of the invoices and leaving them on people's desks. Now, we don't want any process to be too heavily reliant on email because so much gets lost in email now. I mean, I'm sure I don't need to tell you all about all the emails that you get and how emails get missed easily. There was no workflow management. So if at any point in time somebody wanted to see the status of this invoice, whether it was approved or not, there was no way to see that. And of course, that comes back to being able to provide real-time updates. So how did we manage it? We built a SharePoint site focused purely on document libraries. Each one of those folders can actually link to the categories of invoices. So that's exactly what we did. And then the individual would drop the invoice in a particular folder, depending on the category of invoice, and that would automatically trigger our Power Automate flow. which would send a notification to the individual that needed to approve it. And they then used the metadata columns to say whether or not it was approved or if they had a comment or whatever the status was. So straight away, we had a reduction of emails going back and forth. We had real-time data available to see if that invoice was approved or not approved, or if more information was required. No more printing, no more archiving things in and scanning them back in. And of course, we have version history as well built into the document libraries in SharePoint. So if you do want to see who did what changes when, there is that feature in SharePoint, which is very powerful also. And straight away, saving time, simple process, just automated from start to finish. So my final use case, which is around a quality sign-off process. And in this case, there was no quality sign-off process in the organisation, but they wanted to build one in. And I guess it made no sense to build one in using paper. So it was right. What should we do from a digital side of things? The biggest challenge with the quality sign-off process in this example is that not everybody within the manufacturing line actually had Microsoft licenses. So they didn't have a PC and they didn't have individual licenses. So that brought about a bit of a challenge. However, we love a challenge. And there is another Microsoft product, which I'm not going into detail on today, but you guys might be familiar with already, which is referred to as Microsoft Forms. And you can access a Microsoft form without having a license. So you do not need to log in as a user. It's a survey is the way to think of it. And you can complete that survey. Anybody complete that survey if they wish. So the first thing we did was we built a survey. We got a QR code for that survey and we stuck it on the side of every one of the manufacturing machines of where we wanted a quality process at the end of it. The individual would carry out their quality review. They'd scan the QR code, they'd answer a series of questions on the form. And for those of you that are familiar with Microsoft Forms, yes, it's very functional, but the output of the answers that people have given are not the most user-friendly. So what we did was then we built a Power Automate flow to actually convert that form into an item in a list in SharePoint. And from there, then we had access to be able to make it look a bit nicer. So automatic flow turned that form into an item in SharePoint, and then automatic flow turned it into a PDF report for us. And then that PDF report just gets shared to the quality document library in SharePoint. So suddenly within 2 days, we've turned around a solution in which they now have a quality sign-off process. And as mentioned already, because these solutions are extremely flexible, you can build on them quite easily. So you can implement that process and you decide further down the line, well, actually, we have 2 or 3 more questions we now want people to fill in. It's really easy to change them because it is that sort of no-code development. So it's really easy to adapt and change the solution as the business changes and grows as well. So that's just 3 examples of use cases there for you, but hopefully it will give you an idea of the capabilities and how these can be adapted to different scenarios. So we will just go on now to show you a quick demo. The first demo that is going to come up just gives you an example of a SharePoint site. So you can see within that SharePoint site, I can add content such as that PowerPoint slide template. Everything is about clicking and sharing. So these are all quick links. We can embed in different content. We've got training videos in there embedded. So you can create like a mini learning management system if you wish. We've also got folder structures. So that's an example of a folder structure with its metadata in that can be easily updated. You can see we're keeping in with the lean. You know, we want visibility. We're using colors there in the red and the green. So we're using some formats on the metadata. We're assigning people there as well. And you can see it is very user friendly, nice user interface. The next thing we're going to look at is we're going to link in some Power Apps. So this is an example of a 6S audit. You guys are probably familiar with the 6S. The idea around this is you can have a series of questions. Dependent on the answer of those questions, you'll see across the top, it is now generating scores. And this theory can be used for whatever audits you guys might have in place. You'll also see that it's asking me to add in an improvement point. If I see an improvement that needs to be done, I can add that in. And what that is actually doing is combining another app in which it's creating a process improvement project as well. So it's the combination of data sources feeding into different areas on that 6S audit. Simple asset tracker there. You can add in whatever images that you want. You can see we can have a number of different buttons. You can create an asset. You can complete an asset check in which, we're asking somebody to do a series of questions. You can add in a digital signature. Please ignore my very poor writing, guys, on the digital signature. And we can save that. And as I said, it can create a report if we need it to. We can search for things quite easily, request asset maintenance. In this case here with Canuse, you can see the example of the different fields, calendar, additional notes can be written in. And when we save that, it's notifying a team of people maybe that manages the asset maintenance side of things. So that action is triggering an action on the other side of it. So it can be customized, done whichever you like. Meetings. I know a lot of you guys probably hold your digital PIP meetings. And again, you can see this is an example just of a PIP meeting app, pulling in information from different logs that we're using, performance, quality, safety. You can see we can use icons, colors. You can have the writing as big or as small as you'd like. Varying feedback on this. I have a lot more people that prefer big writing to small, slick writing these days on that side of things. And just to show you the next app, which is a project tracker app, which should come on. You can see again, we've got some tiles across the top showing us some maybe quick glance of information we want to see. We can filter based on the project. We can update it, as I said again, and these are just all demo apps here, so please ignore some of the demo items in it, but it just gives you an idea of the capabilities of the apps that can be created on it. And I guess for me, the thing that I love about all of this is that these solutions are available already with that Microsoft 365 license. So you guys are just actually utilizing the licensing that you've already purchased. You're just unleashing the potential of what you already have. We do see more and more businesses. Absolutely, you can go down the route of getting software as a service, various different applications that will enable you to do all these things. But what we find is now I'm going into organizations and I'm actually helping them because their software as a service costs have spiraled out of control and there is no governance around what people can sign up for or what they can download because it's browser based. So, there is some challenges to when you open up the door to software as a service that just needs to be focused on, but there is some great softwares out there, but the fact that you've actually got this potential in your licenses already is just great. You're just using what you pay for. So guys, thank you very much. I hope you found that part insightful. I am going to pass you over to Pat now, who is going to talk to you about how you can add the analytics onto all of this, which is the icing on the cake. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Lisa. So following on from Lisa's explanations of those applications available on the Power Platform, I'm going to build on to the next layer, which is the analytic layer. This comes in the form of Power BI or Power Business Intelligence. This application gathers multiple data sources, such as Excel spreadsheets, data from ERP systems, data from Power Apps, and combines them all in one place. So this culminates in visuals such as graphs and charts to create a dashboard for the user. So in the next slide, I'll tell you a bit more about Power BI. So it's a cloud-based business intelligence service, which, as Lisa explained, is an added bonus being cloud-based that you can access through web browsers, and you have an added safety feature there as well. So Power BI lets you visualize your data and share insights. So again, a lot of data is lost or there's multitudes of data and it's very hard to decipher from. So these visuals make it much easier for you. Power BI is built on the foundations of Microsoft, which means it's not as steep of a learning curve for users that are familiar with Microsoft Excel, which is brilliant, easy to teach. And then an added feature of Power BI is that it's infused with machine learning, or the buzzword at the moment, artificial intelligence. So there's a couple of nice features with this. It can, from the data that's been entered into it, the artificial intelligence can read through that data and then create forecasts or predictions as to what the future holds for you. It can also create what-if scenarios, and it can also read through your data and give you a quick synopsis of what is going on in it. So great. So some of the benefits. So firstly, the first benefit would be collaboration and culture. So the benefit here, it allows employees to share data and dashboards very easily, creates a culture of sharing information so the whole company operates as a one. The second benefit would be visualizing the data. So this makes data much more digestible for people. In large data sets, information or main messages can be lost. So Power BI creates visuals such as charts, graphs, maps, KPIs, which allow people to easily understand the status of things at a glance. The third benefit, as I just kind of spoke to there, would be the AI analysis and forecasting. So the AI helps analyze the data. It can read through all the previous data entered and then make predictions or forecasts for the coming months or years on the trends that it's previously seen. And it can also read through the data set and create quick synopsis of what the information is, quick bullet points as to what's going on. The fourth benefit is probably the most powerful of all, which is the Power BI's ability to combine all these different data sources very easily. So this allows you to get a whole view of the inner goings of what's happening within your company by pulling data from multiple sources, ERP systems, financial software, Power BI's, CRM systems, and then reporting all in one to give you one source of truth. Slide, I'm going to take you through a quick demo. This is the Power BI environment, and this is a very basic example of a car dealership. So here you can see we have a bar chart of just the quantity of cars sold by month. And then I have a filter here for different years. So by clicking the 2022, you can see different figures to 2023. And this is a very good visual aid for you, so you can quickly get between. So we're going to slowly build onto these as we go. So in stage 2, I'll add on to the next, and hopefully by the stage 4, we'll have a full dashboard for you. So in stage 2, you can see again, I have the quantity of cars sold in your bar chart there. I still have my slicer or my filters for 22, 23, and now I also have a pie chart, separating the different types of cars sold. So hatchbacks, saloons, and vans. And you can see here with my mouse, as I hover over, it gives an insight into them. Now I also have a new filter that lets me filter by month. So you can see we sold 2 cars in February, one being a hatchback and one being a saloon. So the data is very interactive. Again, you can quickly drill into it and get more insights as you go. So in stage 3, we're going to add on again. So I still have my quantity of cars sold by month, my breakdown of cars, and now I'm going to see where in the country and what dealerships are selling these. So again, I've added an extra filter up there, but now we also have an interactive map. So you can see there's 3 areas highlighted: Mayo, Dublin, and Ireland. And as I hover over them, they'll give me insights. So as it hovers over Dublin, you can see there was 21 cars sold in Dublin in the year 2023. So now I've filtered it to February, sorry, and I'll filter it to Limerick. So I can see that there was 2 cars sold. They're the different types. Sorry, this is in the whole country. And you can see one was in Mayo, one was in Limerick. And then when I filter by Limerick, you can see it was 1 saloon sold in February, and it highlights the area. So these maps can be used for not just Ireland, anywhere you want. They'll zoom out to scale, so you can get a quicker oversight of what's going on. So we're getting there. We're nearly built out to our dashboard. We're getting more insights. So on the next stage here, you can see I've added a small bit more. So now we can see the quantity of cars sold, the breakdown type, where they've been sold in the county, or in the country, sorry. I can also see the number of sales in financial wise. So as you can see there as a highlight, there's 110,000 in sales in January. I've also added a new filter up the top by salesperson and this waterfall chart here also. So you can see Mark sold 21, Lisa 16, and myself 14, so 51 cars altogether. And I can filter again. So as I select these filters up here, all the data changes accordingly. So that's just for February in 2023 and Limerick. And all the data is changing as it goes. But each of these charts are also, can also drill into all of this data. So by unselecting all of those filters, as it's doing here now, and then just selecting a certain part of a chart, in this instance, the waterfall chart here, I selected Lisa, all the information has changed and it's just catered to Lisa. So there, the amount of cars sold by Lisa throughout the year and in what areas. So I hope that gives you a bit of an understanding of the power of Power BI. And it's just a very basic example, but in the next slides now, I'll take you through a use case where we've used it with a client of ours. So in this, here's our use case. So the challenges that faced this client were their current system was reporting was very limited, so they couldn't get what they needed out of it. So to combat this, they were creating their own Excel sheets to track what they needed out, which was a very manual, time exhaustive process. And then they also had multiple data sources because on top of their ERP system that had the limited reporting, the Excel that they were using to fill in that gap, and then their financial system to get the costs associated. There was inconsistencies in the data as it was manual. People were just typing in figures into Excel, and then they also had no sight on the running costs. So our solution was to identify what area they exactly want to look at, and firstly, that was their production, so and the costs associated. So to combat this, we deployed Power BI. So it harvests all the different data sources into one, compile them together, and then we could create an interactive dashboard for management to see how the day-to-day running was going. So the benefits of this, it freed up considerable amount of time administration-wise, so they weren't constantly working in Excels. Secondly, management now had a quick, clear overview, and thirdly, they could make real-time decisions based on the information they could see on this dashboard. So on the next slide, it's just a quick snapshot of what the dashboard looks like, and I can take you through it quickly. So here is their Power BI dashboard for their production. So you can see here at the top, there's the absenteeism hours, so they knew where they were falling short in staff, so they could ramp up production. The back orders they had to fill was the next one. Following across the line, the orders they've received by month, so they could try and calculate a trend. And then the last one on that side would be the average product produced per hour. So they could try and figure out how much they could make in a day and how the machines were running. Below that, then the productivity of employees, that's just how much output they were getting per month. So that was taken away from machine downtime and all those kind of breakdowns associated. Wastage costs there we were associated. How much was was the next one there. You can see the product produced per cost of wage, how much different amounts of products were being produced, and then the overtime costs associated. So getting all of these together gave the production manager a quick view of how things were operating and where he could get his hands on quickly to make real change. So hopefully that gives you a bit more insight to how Power BI can be deployed within some of your own businesses. Thank you very much, and I'm going to hand you back over to Mark.
Thank you very much, Pat and Lisa, both for the great presentations. Really appreciate it. And I hope just before I get into the remainder of the slides that you start to get a feel for really what Microsoft systems and applications are capable of, and how we really, through a couple of those demonstrations, have shown how the paper-based processes, the approvals processes, the rework that's involved, the integration of the systems, how these simple applications, the low-code applications, really tie things together. And we start, I suppose, the concept we always look at, or the principles we live by, we always start small and keep things as simple as possible. Pat has shown you with the BI specifically there, and the data management and reporting, you know, start with one metric, one KPI, one bar chart. Start there. Make sure your data is live and accurate, and build on that. This is, you know, works across the board, works with our pit meetings, like Lisa gave you an example of as well, but being able to have these applications to really showcase that data and make it work for you. So thank you both for presenting all that. Just before I go to the Q&A, I just wanted to put up this slide on the screen. So we've seen a lot today around the process optimization, data management and reporting, and the solution design and development, which I suppose the Microsoft applications really are answering for the pain and the problems that people are encountering. But just from our own point of view, we also do quite a lot with our customers in terms of digital strategy build out, really understanding, you know, what are the work streams or the workflows that you and your business need to go after to take you to that next level, to really, you know, go after some of these pain points or issues. We offer some digital training. A lot of this is actually, you know, built into that co-creation of these applications specific to your needs, and the training that's involved with those, to allow your operation or your business and your management to actually take those applications and run with them, to build on them once you have that capability in place, and to really harness the data and to make it work for you. And just finally, on the system scoping and implementation support. So further to these systems, we have had a lot of experience with ERP, with CRM, with other software packages that people are using on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of people here will have felt the pain of the implementation of those. So we do offer support around the change management piece there, and project management, and even support around the systems themselves, which we have worked with a lot, because there is quite a lot involved in the resourcing and the timelines, and really making sure that you're ready for those. So just finally, I want to leave you on this slide with a quote from Bill Gates himself, previous to Microsoft, obviously, but it's really something that we live by in the day-to-day, to take the software and think about the software that you're using as a support to your business, a support to the processes, the reporting, the operations, and the management of the business that you have. So we want to really just elevate all of these things with the software and the support that we use it for, and make that as simple as possible. So with that, there's some of our information there. I would just ask if anybody has any or would like to get in touch and learn more about these services that we can offer, please do. We will follow up with everybody who's on the call today after the webinar. But again, just a big thank you from us at LBS Partners. I am just going to stop sharing the slides now. We have a couple of questions in from people, so I might just go through those now. Okay. So just on the Q&A, I will go to the chat now in a moment, but Elaine Kane, can you control how often data is refreshed in the Power BI database? Is this automated? So Pat, I might leave this one to you.
Sure, yeah, it's a great question. Yes, you can automate that. It'd be refreshed on a regular basis, but every time you come into the dashboard, you can refresh it manually also.
Okay. Hopefully, Elaine, that answers your question. I will, just while we're waiting here, if you bear with me one moment, I will allow the cameras and the mics for attendees, just in case there are any ad hoc questions at the end here as well. Pardon me, I need to apply those. Okay. Just on the chat, again. So Amy Wallace, can I ask where you were pulling the data in from for the BI dashboard?
Yeah, sure. So the example that the demo that I walked through there, that was just from a couple of different Excel sheets, just put them all in together. But you can pull data from anywhere really. So if it was an ERP system, you can export the data from there and then import it into Power BI. Same going for any financial software or any CRM systems. And then from Power Apps, you could also export from the list. That would be the background of the Power App. And then all that data will come back into the Power BI then.
Right.
Hopefully
Thanks,
that covers. Yep.
Yeah, if there's any more questions, I have a hand raised from Paul Kelly. Paul, if you'd like to ask
Just
your
very
question
quickly,
away.
Mark, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, in terms of support, can you share that, obviously, the presentation with us and any detailed support that you can provide? I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll follow up with everybody on the webinar itself, Paul, and we'll share the slides for you. So if you...
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
I'm going to head off, but thank you for the presentation. It was excellent.
You're great. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Mark.
Hello. Sorry, who have I on the line?
John Cheevers from Carton Controls.
John, how are you?
Yeah, great presentation, guys. Very, very good. I got particularly excited when I seen about the 6S or the 5S automation. So just, I suppose everyone else would probably need to know this. If I wanted to engage LBS now and get some help with that, what way would the help would it come? Would I be trained, or would someone work with me, as you said, to co-create the use of the Microsoft?
Absolutely, John. I think I'll let Lisa take this one, and I can come in after, if that's all right.
Yeah, no problem. So, John, there's different ways we can do it. We can create the app for you. If that's easier, we'll go through the whole process of designing it out with you, and we'll build it. We'll put it into place and get you guys up and running it. If you prefer to go down the route of coaching and mentoring, then we can also look at that. Or alternatively, if there's a bit of a journey that you guys want to go on in terms of where there could be a few SharePoint sites and a few process improvements that you want to put in place as opposed to just one, then we can also talk about maybe doing something around a monthly sort of retention model or something like that for a certain period while you go throughout that digital transformation journey. So there's a couple of different ways we can do it. It all depends on what you would like to do, really.
Okay, so look, I'll reach out and discuss that with you, Lisa, then. Thank you.
No problem.
Brilliant.
Thank you, John.
Just on that, I'm very conscious there are various formats of the 5S and 6S in play with a lot of our clients at the moment. So as we said, the applications here are, it's highly flexible, and we can make the changes to look like the format that you need, with the icons you need, or your own, colorings and templates based on your own individual organization. So it's all fully customizable, and that can be done as well. Just before we break up, there was one question that we had that I wanted to touch on, and it's come up quite a bit with our clients also, is, if we're starting on this journey and you're dealing with your Excel and PowerPoint and your Outlook, where do you start on this journey? So when we talk about the three applications, so your SharePoint, your Power Automate, and your Power Apps as, let's say, the next step up to support your organization and your processes, we would very much see SharePoint, and I think the guys would agree with me, as being the kind of starting point on your journey there. So that offers the basis or the platform for you to store and house the data upon which you can query with these applications, drive your reporting from, and it really is the stepping stone up to this next level. So for those of you who have access to SharePoint, or it's already live in your organizations, very happy again to talk to people about, how do we push this on? If you haven't heard of SharePoint, or it's available to you, I'd say, this is a great time to maybe look into it, and the world is your oyster. You can take it from there. There's a lot that you can start with from that point, but that's really the first port of call for us, and when we're thinking about how to build out our solutions with our clients. So Don't know if anybody has any other questions. If not, as I said, we will follow up with everybody on the call, on the line, and I'd just like
Mark.
to thank you again.
Sorry, there's one more question in the Q&A that you may have missed.
Oh, my apologies. Paul Lynham, looking at the production dashboard that was created for that example company, do you do the actual building of the Power BI dashboard or just the training enabling us to build ourselves? Great question.
It is a great question, and very like Lisa's answer. It could go either way. So we'd be happy to come in and build it out for you, but you probably will get more benefit out of it if we sat down and thought it through with you, and you can learn how to build one yourself. As it said in the presentation, it's on the basis of Excel, so it's not a steep learning curve, and we'd be happy to guide you on that journey.
I think the imparting of the knowledge is, look, it's one of the core principles that we have at LBS. You know, we really want to share the knowledge and allow you to obviously maintain the applications that you have and the Power BI you have, but also in order for it to be sustainable, there does need to be a level of knowledge there as well. So, you know, it's in everybody's interest that we do impart that to you guys as well. So hopefully that answers the question, Paul. All right, that's 1 p.m. on the dot. Couldn't have asked for a more efficient and lean process. So thank you very much all, and we will share the slides and follow up after this.